I don't know if I call it time travel though.
Yeah, but they also talk about time being relative and like.
Apparently, the definition of time travel is relative too.
Are we just gonna get into is this time travel or not time travel? I think we're already there.
Hello and welcome to May the Review Be With You with Nick and Joe. I'm Joe.
And I'm Nick, and today we are continuing our time travel draft. It is the last category, Pick the Unpicked. Many weeks ago, many years ago, many lifetimes ago, we picked 7 different categories. We each picked time travel films that fit into these categories. This is the 7th category that we decided on at the end of the draft. We had to go back in time and pick another one. So, my pick for that was Tomorrowland, starring George Clooney. And today we're talking about it. We're going to talk about the time travel. We're going to talk about, does the time travel work? Does it obey its own rules? Is it even a time travel film? And yeah, Joe, thoughts, concerns? I know you're excited for this.
I am excited for this. The first thing I do want to bring up is usually we grade these movies in 3 different categories that Nick just rattled off there, and he very wisely did not name the last category, which we have been grading these movies as far as how well they were drafted in their particular categories. Since this is kind of a bonus category for some bonus points, there was really no way to go wrong here. So we will be grading just on those 2 categories of the film itself, and then of course how well does the defined time travel work within the film's framework. And I guess to kick things off, really before we get into any of it, we got to talk about the film. And what better way to do that than with a 15-second summary of what the film is? You're smiling, so I feel like you remember. Yeah, he knows. It's his turn. It's Nicholas's turn. He's going to take 15 seconds here to do his best to summarize all of the events of this film. I'm going to give him a grade, F to A. We'll see how he does. Nick, how you doing? How you feeling?
Well, this is not going to be very good. Just hit the button.
All right. When I say 3, 2, 1, go, he's going to hit it. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Frank Walker is a young inventor who meets some girl who he's able to time travel with to the future or through a time portal, and then we pick up later and find him as an older man who has to then try to find his way back there with another group of young inventors. And Jesus, I didn't even get to the fact that there's like 3 different portals they use in this movie. I'm so screwed.
We didn't even get to the fact of the conflict, like what the conflict was. What was this movie about, Nick? Did you even watch this movie?
I love this movie, Joe. I actually really like this movie a lot. But summarize it,
your love does not show.
To summarize it in 15 seconds is not possible. So I'm going to take a second and get in my time portal. And I'm going to do it again. I'm just kidding.
By all means, please.
I failed. I'm going to take the F.
You do get an F here. That was truly awful. But I, as someone who has just claimed to love this movie, walk us through the broader strokes of this film. What is this film, Nick?
All right. So this film is about a inventor named Frank Walker. When we first meet Frank Walker, we meet his younger self. We're at the World's Fair. I forget the year now. 1984 World's Fair. That sounds right.
I think that's right.
World's Fair, and he brings an invention, a jetpack. He meets this older gentleman, and he wants to collect a reward for inventing this jetpack. Anyway, the beginning follows the young Frank Walker. We find out he meets this girl, and somehow this young kid ends up in a time portal and he travels to the future or maybe it's another universe. We find out later. We can discuss that at the end of this. He travels to a future where all of the creative people, like what if there was a future or a world where all the creative people in the world were there and they could just freely create. So anyway, young Frank Walker travels here. He's there for a number of years and then eventually he gets kicked out. We pick up at some other point where there is another young character that we meet, and Casey, her name is Casey Newton. Casey Newton ends up being another one of these young inventors who has been picked by the same girl that picked young Frank Walker. And we see that this girl has not aged at all. Anyway, this kind of gives us the main plot where Casey Newton and this girl from the beginning, whose name is Athena, have to find Frank Walker and then figure out how to get back to this dimension or future, because the world, we find out, is going to end in, I don't know, what is it, days, basically. So the world's ending. The plot is save the world. And that's maybe a better summary. I don't know.
It was a better summary. As you put it, in the other world, we find out that Frank invented a way. Yeah. It was I forgot. I think it was Frank. Frank invented a way of seeing the probabilities.
The algorithm of probabilities to show what the probability of what the future would be. And so Frank invented this algorithm, and in order to make this algorithm work and to also be able to time hop, tachyon particles are like very important. So like this, apparently like this world of people has discovered tachyon particles and were able to harness them to create devices to time hop or open up a time portal. We can discuss whether or not this is time travel.
We'll get there. Before we do, though, I do want to take a second just to talk about the film itself, and really like kind of the era that this film came out in. I want to say, oh no, I'm correct. Okay, yeah, this came out in 2015. It's a Brad Bird film. He co-wrote this film with Damon Lindelof, which should be a familiar name on this podcast, considering how often we bring up Lost. The creator of Lost, Damon Lindelof. It's honestly not that shocking to find out that he was attached to this project. He loves projects that are sci-fi,
because your Lost guy's in here. Also, you're
would
welcome.
Think I would.
You're welcome for bringing in
you
a movie.
Would think I'd love this movie. So also
you
Brad
liked
Bird.
It. Oh, shut up! You didn't.
I'll get there. Give me a second. You're skipping. Brad Bird was a name that I was unfamiliar with as far as filmography goes. However, I apparently should be familiar with his name because like his resume is incredible. Like he's got like almost like nothing but like hits here. We're talking The Iron Giant, The Incredibles, Ratatouille, Mission Impossible, Ghost Protocol, Tomorrowland, which I don't know how that did in the box office. Incredibles 2, which I know that did well. Ray Gun, which is coming out next year on Netflix. I guess, be on the lookout for that. But to me, Tomorrowland is part of this era of Disney where they were turning to the box office to help promote some of their rides, like in their theme parks, right? Like Pirates of the Caribbean or the Haunted Mansion, right? Tomorrowland is like one of those products as well. Haunted Mansion, I was not a big fan of either of those movies. Pirates of the Caribbean, first one is amazing. The series, take it or leave it, but I enjoy watching even the bad ones. Don't care. I like me some pirates. This movie, I was kind of, if I'm being honest with you, Nick, I'm kind of down in the middle on it. I think it's enjoyable. I think George Clooney has like, even when he's like negative Nelly, like he still has so much charisma that like just pulls the movie along. The little girl who plays, I shouldn't call her a little girl, the teenage girl who plays Casey Newton, I think she's a really good actress, actually, and she does a great job. The Athena character is interesting, and I like what is done with the Athena character. Honestly, who I found to be like kind of the least inspired character, and I was like a little disappointed in what he ultimately becomes, is David Nix. Who is ultimately our antagonist in the movie. He's played by Hugh Laurie, which I was so excited to see Hugh Laurie in this movie. I was like, house! Was not expecting that.
Right. Because he's not in a lot of stuff. I've been talking
a lot here.
He doesn't do stuff, Like, he doesn't do stuff.
Right. Right. I feel like it's rare when I get to see Hugh Laurie, like, in an actual film. So that was neat. And, like, to see him I wasn't sure if he was going to be an antagonist or not, but like, he was being the guy who was like the bouncer at the door for young Frank, right?
Right.
Um, his character is like, pretty like one-dimensional, weirdly,
Yeah.
for what the idea of Tomorrowland is.
Yeah.
And I think this is ultimately like where the movie kind of falls flat for me. You use the phrase yourself, it's a save the world plot. Which like as far as save the world plots go, I think the idea of this one is a good one, right? It's the idea of probability and like everyone is responsible for creating like this feedback loop of
Mhm.
doom with movies and films,
Right.
books, all about the end, and we're all focusing on that rather than trying to fix the actual problems. Which that's a pretty good commentary on life. I think that's a great commentary on life. I don't know. It didn't really like grab me as far as like that particular like plot element goes and how they're gonna try to stop Nix. And Nix is I don't know. Nix is just kind of a boring villain for me.
Yeah. That makes sense, especially because, like, that dimension that they're in is supposed to be like a very supposed to be the builders and creatives of the world and all these things, and like no one has decided to like not accept that our world is ending, because really that future is not really necessarily a future. I think it ends up being more like a separate a different dimension that they go to. So like our world being destroyed doesn't mean that place is going to be destroyed. They'll continue, although there's not as much hope there as there was in the 1984 version or whatever, right? Because I think because of the world ending, right? So there is some effects at least. At least that's what I get from it there. And so yeah, your point about he definitely is kind of more like one sided for sure. I think that George Clooney and the other gang of actors and actresses definitely help the film and carry the film as far as like the interesting parts of it go. Um,
I do want to say, Nick, I was I was really hooked to the idea at first when we first see Tomorrowland, and like it is the viewer at least is I was under the impression, it seems like you were too, that when Frank first goes to Tomorrowland, he is stepping into the future, and like I like the literal future, right? And like loved that idea of like the best and brightest get like snatched from the past, and like
right,
they're here in this like utopian future city of like the universe, but maybe at some point they go back, right? I was like, oh, that's really fun. Like what you could do with that's awesome. So I was kind of bummed out later when I find out no, it's not time travel. They're going to this pocket dimension. And the actions of here have really no effect on the timeline. And based on like how the movie works, it did feel like maybe there was a draft that was the case, because like
right.
the timeline was like all over the place at one point. And that was fun, that was interesting. So yeah, I got super bummed when like that wasn't the case.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's tough. Because like there in some way though there is an effect, right? Because they've got this probability calculator and they can see what the probability is that that world is going to like implode on itself.
Mm.
But then they can also see if it's changing. So like there's still some effect, like
Right, affecting the future, like the unknown future,
there
and
is
trying
still
to have
some
some kind
right.
of
So
impact
since they're
on it.
still able to affect some kind of like change, it does kind of breed the question of okay, well, what is the time travel ness of it? And
There I mean, to your point, like I think we do see some like pretty immediate like I see. Okay, here's the thing. I want to give you a 0 for like time travel because I'm like, there's no time travel in this freaking movie. But the movie does actually talk a lot about time, and like it even gets into the idea of like tachyon particles, right? And like there's a really like as far as like the climax goes. While I'm not super into Nyx as a villain, I will say there are parts of the climax that were really interesting, and that was like Athena or Casey
yeah,
dealing with like the chaos that's ensuing around them while the tachyon particles are
right,
showing them like visions of the future of what's about to happen to them.
right,
Um, and that was super fun. Like there's a moment just to like give anyone listening like an example. Um, there's a moment with, I believe, Casey, our protagonist, our optimist of the future. She sees, like, she's on this like platform and like they're tacking on particles everywhere, and she sees like a vision of herself like falling, right? Or like her hands are in the air and she's screaming, and which like is hilarious because like she knows that's about to happen to her, but she doesn't know why. And then like the platform gives out, and then suddenly she is like the projection of the future, right?
Right.
So like that was neat. So like there is like some tiny whiminess going on. I don't know if I call it time travel though.
Yeah, but they also talk about time being relative and like so is there direct
Apparently the definition of time travel is relative too.
Are we just gonna get into is this time travel or not time travel? I think we're already there.
We're here, baby. All
One
right,
more
give me your argument. Why is it time travel?
one more thing about we should just get into that. But one more thing about casting. Tim McGraw and Catherine Hahn.
Mhm.
Always nice. Always good. Always entertaining. Short scenes, they were in there for much of it, but very cool.
I was not expecting to see Catherine Hahn in this movie, and that was, I mean, pretty much. I knew nothing except George Clooney was in this movie, so like whenever like a cameo, not a cameo, but like a big star would show up, I would be like, hey, that guy.
Also, Tesla, Edison, we got some really big cameos in this one.
Oh, that's the other thing about David Nix. Okay, all right, color me uneducated here, and if you know the answer to this, please tell me. Why does our villain have such a boring name? Like, this is supposed to be a society of like geniuses, and like Casey Newton is our protagonist's name. Why doesn't David Nix have a famous historic name, or just like, I don't know, David Big Brain Doctor Professor? Like, I
Yeah.
don't freaking know. Like David Nix. Like, what is that? Like,
Yeah, they definitely gave us some kind of like Easter egg with Casey's last name being Newton. It's like, okay, like whatever. Yeah, but we might as well talk about the time travel or the time portals or whatever you want to call it. Admittedly, I will call them time portals or portal. I don't even know. Portals to dimensions is really what it is, I guess. We don't know where this dimension is, so how do we know it's not technically the future?
wow. Wow. Okay. So no.
No.
Hard no on that.
Joe, I think you would have liked this movie more if it wasn't part of our draft. I think you're looking for reasons to give me a 0.
No. Like I said, I'm middle of the road as far as like the movie goes. I'm like, yeah, it's not bad. I don't think it's that great, but like, yeah, like I had an enjoyable time. Time travel? No, absolutely not. No time travel.
It's a fun movie. It's a fun movie. It definitely masks itself as time travel, and then as you get into it, you're like, you know what? It's really not.
I would agree with that.
You're really not. Yeah, and I can't deny it either. So I mean, it's really more like pocket dimensions and traveling to different dimensions. So with that said, we might as well talk about it because we get 3 different mechanisms for this in the film, which is cool because in all the other films we've seen, we've had one mechanism for time travel. Now, this isn't time travel, but it's, we can, it's relatable, right? We're hopping to a different dimension, but if you think about it, we get 3 different ways that they do it. The first time is in the train car when it's young Frank Walker at the beginning, right? You go through It's a Small World, you have to have the pin. You go through It's a Small World, you get into a train car, and he is transported to this world, right?
By the way, that, just as a quick aside here, that was another like point in favor of this movie because I absolutely subscribe to the theory that there is some kind of underground tunnel underneath It's a Small World.
Hell yeah.
As someone who's been to this park many a time, like, you cannot tell me that there are secret tracks on this ride.
I'm bringing the pin with me next time I go, and we're gonna find it, man. You just gotta have the pin, dude.
What if it really was that? It's like, hey, we're really not trying to be subtle with it. Just buy the pin and then
buy the pin, see what happens. You never know. But that's number 1. Number 2 is the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower.
That was pretty cool, actually.
That was cool. Like coming
cool.
up with a concept for like why this thing is actually looks like a launch pad. That was cool. And then the third one is the one that we see once they get there, which is with the tachyon particles and this whole situation. So that's like a third portal, a third way to open a portal. So there's 3 different ways that we see in this movie to like get to this other dimension, which like is very different than all the other time travel films we've done when there's been literally like one thing.
Isn't it there technically 4? Because like you brought up the little like pin, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call this, but like Casey, like when she specifically touches the pin,
Yeah.
it also takes her to the future, or like or not the future, but like the universe, right?
Yeah, I don't count that because it's the recording.
Oh, that's right. That is a recording. Okay.
Yeah. That's the recording. So I don't count that. But technically the fourth one, there is a fourth one though, you're right, at the very end, because I'm assuming they just rebuilt the tachyon particle machine because I think they destroyed it at the end. And I don't know if they had another way to get back. So I imagine it was just rebuilt, or maybe there's another one. I mean, who knows? That's a we'll put that in the questions pile that are unanswered. but anyway, so definitely 3, which is just a cool fact. But if you compare it to our other time travel films, like there's like multiple different ways you can do it here in this film, which decide how you like that or not.
I will give you this, Nick, as far as the time travel convention of this goes. So I do think that there is enough in this movie, right, with like especially with the conversation of like tachyon particles, and all the talk of like probability, right, and the future. And at one point they even like use the machine to like view the past, right?
Right.
They view Casey's past at one point. I will. This is a bit of a stretch, but I will give you this. Even if that world that they go to is not technically Earth, right? Let's say it's a different world, right? In order for like them to go to that world and to experience like the now of that world and then return back to our world and like the two nows are like in sync, that would require some time travel, kind of, because like there's no way that you could do that. And then
fantastic point. I wasn't even gonna bring this up because I'm just
I there is some timey-wimeyness to that.
Travel. You're right. You're absolutely right. That's time travel.
I think it is. I think it's one of the weakest that we've gotten, but but the argument is there.
Not a
like,
zero.
Theoretically,
it is.
There is some time travel happening there.
It's not a 0. That's all that matters.
I don't think it can be a 0. I think we grade on 1 to 5, right? Have we given anything lower? I think we have given something lower than a 1. I don't remember what it was, but I think a movie did get it.
I don't know if I did lower than a 1. I feel like 1.5.
You know what? No, it wasn't. It wasn't for time travel. I think it was like it was something in Marvel. It was probably Secret Invasion or something.
The Flash got like a 0.2 or something. The Flash.
It was probably the Flash.
Hot garbage.
Which is also a time travel film.
We're not having this conversation. This is not happening. Anyway, moving on. So
the Flash movie has more time travel than this movie.
Don't give any compliments to that abstrosity. Okay, that is
except for the fact they'd probably get a 4 on a time travel score, and this movie probably get a 1. I don't know, just saying.
Yeah, that's a little low, buddy. All right, get those rookie numbers up, huh? Bump those numbers up. You're just trying. Now you're trying to like.
I'm sorry, you're right. The Flash deserves a 5.
Oh my God, this is disgusting. I'm canceling this podcast. We're no longer doing this podcast.
Wow. The Flash was the breaking point.
Good Lord.
The Flashpoint?
Babies, Joe. Flying babies. That's all I have to say.
I remember them, and they looked bad in CG. They were no good. Those are bad babies.
Anyone who's like giving AI shit, I'm like, listen, AI might have done some better babies than the CGI they tried. Anyway. All right, so we've kind of talked about the time travel. Obviously, we're both kind of in agreement that it's not. I mean, there is some time travel, but it's really more of a dimension hop situation rather than time travel. So it's there. Rules. Does the movie at least obey its own rules that it sets up?
I mean, I would say.
I think so.
Okay, so like, what would you say I could probably think of some, but what would you say the rules are here?
So there's a couple of different ones. At the beginning, the young Frank Walker needs the pin to be able to access the room where the train car is that he uses to teleport. once he's in the car, he doesn't need anything. He just needs to be in there. Okay. So he, so you need the pin at the beginning. Middle of the film, you need to have like whatever Frank had built as an older man. They go to like this electric room with this like dome situation. You need to have this mechanism to get there, right? Very similar. I'm assuming it works just very same as the train car. Difference is you didn't need the pin because it was his room that he had access to. So you don't need the pin, right? Later, when they get to the future dimension, they have this full, very, very sophisticated tachyon particle dimension opener where you just basically, it looks like you just need to flip a switch. So there's really not a lot of rules. We don't get any rules about like, if you do this here, you can't do this here, you can't go there or anything like that. So I think that like, based on that, it doesn't really break its, dimension traveling rules.
So if I were to like simplify that, so it sounds like what you're saying, you need the pin, or at least in some cases, right? Which, let's call that a key, right? You need a key, you need a vehicle of some sort, and a door, right? Key for the vehicle, door, or vehicle for the door. Let's just throw this in here. Let's assume tachyon particles are involved. And yeah, I would say like the film's like super consistent with that, especially with the idea of the whole conflict of trying to get to the Eiffel Tower, right? Like that's absolutely necessary.
Right.
It's not like Athena just opens up, another portal, right? Which like that could have been an easy like Deus Ex Machina. So yeah, no, I will give you that. Does it follow its own rules as far as like time travel goes? Yeah, it does. I just think that the mechanism itself is weak, and this is probably why I would give it like a lower grade compared to like what else we've seen. But yeah, I won't give it a 1. You're right. I mean, it does follow the rules. That would be mean. That would be really mean to do.
That's fair.
Also, the fact that Damon Lindelof is part of this project tells me, especially with the way that this movie begins, and like you and I both had the same impression that like this is a time travel movie. The way everything is like that, the way the movie guides the viewer, it feels like we're talking about time travel, especially when Frank and Cassie, we didn't even talk about the beginning of the movie. The beginning of the movie, Frank and Cassie are fighting over the narration of this film because Frank is trying to alert the people of like the doom and the disaster, and Casey, the optimist, is like, hey, like we should really start at like a better place here.
Right.
To talk about the end. So like what I'm getting at here is we start with they're trying to talk about the future, and Frank's first words are, the future, it's different than when I first saw it, right? And it almost sounds like, well, based on what we know, Tomorrowland is like what he's referring to, right? So my theory for this movie, and again, this is because the creator of Lost is involved, I think that there was a much more complicated version of this script at one point that like time travel absolutely was involved, and like it wasn't the world that was going to die. I mean, yes, it was, but like the idea of Tomorrowland was going to die, which like honestly, I think that's a way more interesting plot, and it feels like the beginning of this movie absolutely supports what conclusion that could have been. So I don't know. It was 2015. We dumbed down a lot of things for audiences before Marvel decided to take some big swings, or Interstellar decided to take some big swings and was like, hey, you know what? Audiences, they have an appetite for complicated sci-fi movies. Like, let's just do it, you know?
I love when Joe rewrites a script on air. And I like that film better. We should absolutely write that film. We'll call it
right.
Something else.
That film sounds awesome, doesn't it?
We'll call it something else. Stay tuned.
Right. Yeah. 2 days from Tomorrowland.
All right. Jesus. All right. Let's scores. Should we do scores?
Yeah.
Any other points you wanted to make?
I thought the romance subplot between Athena and Frank was handled very tactfully.
Agreed.
Yeah. Like, that could have been weird. That could have been weird.
Yeah.
And like, honestly, like I think they handled it super well. To get into what I'm talking about here, Frank is basically an old man by the end of this movie. Athena, as Nick had brought up earlier, is android or cyborg, robot. She's a robot, and she's a robot child. And Frank doesn't know that as a kid, and he has a crush on the robot. So his feelings are not reciprocated. When he finds out she's a robot, this spurns him and gets really mad about it. But we find out by the end of the film, Athena and the relationship she had built with Frank, she did not understand how she could feel things as a robot, but Frank made her feel things despite the fact that she was artificial. And the way that that confession comes off at the end, I think, is performed very well by both actors. And I think that was, again, written really tactfully. It's a weird story, but I like weird stories.
Weird story.
That was cool.
They did pull that off for sure. Awesome point. All right. What are the two? What's the two? Time travel and then how it fits in the category?
No, time travel and just the film itself.
Oh, okay.
Out of 5.
That's right, because the category, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, it's just a bonus.
All right, you first. Give me the time travel number.
All right, the time travel number. I can't go super high with this, nor can I give it an absolute 0 because, like, yeah, I follow the rules. So you know what? You get a 2 for doing your homework. Good job, movie.
All right, thank you, Joe. I am going to give myself some grace and give it a 5. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You know what? We're at the end of the draft here. If you were going to take advantage of a score, now's the time to do it.
No. Listen, I'm gonna give it a 2.5. Yeah, you're right. But I'm just gonna give it half a score, 2.5, and then overall, what do you give this film out of 5? How do you feel?
I give it like a 3.5. Like down the middle. I think it, like, honestly, I enjoyed watching it. Like I said, I think that there were some things about the end that, like, I wish, like, considering what the movie is talking about being like great Imagineers, which again, I think supports my David Limloff theory. It just feels like a little uninspired, honestly.
Yeah.
But I think it's a great topic. And honestly, I wish we had more of this kind of optimism.
So you definitely talked me down a little bit on my own film.
Now you know what it feels like.
And I still really like this movie because overall it's fun. And like it's a fun time travel-esque movie, whatever. I'm gonna meet you at 3.5 on this, actually.
Nice. So, I will say, Nick, of the theme park movies, this was way better than the Haunted Mansions and way better than like most of the Pirates of the Caribbean films.
Yeah. I'd say maybe half of the Pirates of the Caribbean films. I really like those films, even the shitty ones.
I know, me too. Yeah, okay. So all right, quick Pirates talk. Obviously number 1 is the best, and then my second favorite would probably be oh my god, what's the third movie called?
At World's End.
At World's End. At World's End, super fun. I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. Anyway, we have to do we'll do a whole pirate series one day.
We should do a whole pirate series. Cool. Oh my gosh,
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
awesome, man. Any final thoughts?
We got one movie left.
Yeah.
So we are approaching the end of our time travel draft. We have one movie left in this category, Pick the Unpicked, and that would be my film, Safety Not Guaranteed. I'm very excited to talk to you about this film, especially after how harsh I was on the time travel of this movie. Can't wait to see what you're going to say about Safety Not Guaranteed.
I can't wait. And it's like been 2 years. We're almost done with this.
That is wild.
Yeah. In the meantime, hit the subscribe button. Let us know in the comments what you think about Tomorrowland. And if you agree or disagree with anything we just said, you can follow us on Threads. And until next time,
may the review be with you.
Peace. It's a small...